Welcome to a place beyond the noise, where science whispers and your mind listens differently, where change begins not with effort, but with quiet noticing. This is neuroplasticity, the brain's astonishing ability to reshape itself, not just to learn, but to unlearn, not just to remember, but to release. Here, thoughts are not fixed, emotions are not final. Even pain is not permanent. In this gentle series, you'll walk the silent pathways of your own brain. Each episode will unravel a thread of memory, emotion, healing, and hope. We'll explore how trauma leaves footprints and how those footprints can fade. In our first episode, we begin with a question. Can the brain unlearn suffering? You'll learn how neuroplasticity rewires pain, how even deep wounds can soften, and how new neural paths begin with stillness. So breathe in, let go. Your journey into the mind begins now, and the path ahead is yours to change. Chapter 1. The Brain That Shapes Itself. Your brain is not made of stone. It bends like light through glass, shifting with your thoughts, your hopes, your hurt. Even pain, though sharp and persistent, finds itself caught in this plastic dance. Tonight, you'll begin tracing the gentle waves of change. You lie still now. The world softens. The weight of the day settles gently behind you, and the hush of night begins to bloom in your body. There, beneath your skull, something remarkable continues to stir. Your brain. That luminous web of thoughts and impulses, of memories and feelings, doesn't sleep quite the way you do. Even now, as your limbs loosen and your breath slows, it is listening. It is changing. They used to think it was fixed, like a machine wired once and forever, that what you learned, what you felt, what you lost, all of it etched in stone. But your brain is not stone. It is clay in motion. It is light bending through water. It is roots seeking new earth after a storm. And that quality, that ability to shift, to reshape itself in response to your experience, is what scientists call neuroplasticity. Think of the first time you tried something difficult. Tying your shoes, learning to ride a bicycle, reading a new language. Awkward, clumsy, a stuttering mess of misfired instructions. And yet, somehow, with repetition, those moments of chaos found order. Neurons reached out, touched each other, strengthened their grip. Like tiny hands passing messages along a line, they began to trust the path. That is plasticity in motion, not just learning but becoming, and it doesn't end in childhood. No matter your age, your mind retains this quiet power to rewire. Each time you practice something, think something, feel something, a path grows clearer. Neurons that fire together, wire together. A whisper of repetition becomes a groove, and soon the brain leans into that path as if it had always been there. But here's where it gets more delicate. Not only can your brain learn joy and skill, it can also learn pain. It can learn fear. It can learn the shape of suffering if suffering becomes familiar. Just as footsteps wear trails into a forest floor, your brain wears grooves into its networks. A single painful event may pass, but its echo, the neural pattern, might linger. And over time, that echo can become a signal all its own. This is where the story turns, because the same brain that learned pain can learn ease again. The grooves can be softened, the paths can be redirected. You are not locked in. And this knowing, that pain is not always permanent, that your mind is not frozen, is where healing begins. Picture this. Inside your head, billions of tiny sparks are dancing. They do not dance alone. They form patterns, loops, trails. roads of thought and feeling. These trails are shaped by your habits, your emotions, your relationships, your injuries. A smile from a loved one might light up a network of warmth and safety. A loud noise might trigger a shortcut to tension. It's not your fault. It's your brain doing what it has been designed to do: predict, protect, prepare. Yet, under all of this, a gentle question stirs. What if these trails could be rerouted? Imagine walking a forest path. You always go the same way. It's familiar, even if it takes you through dark woods. But one evening you stop, you look sideways. There's another way. Overgrown, quieter, less certain. Still you try. One step, another, and slowly a new trail begins to appear. That's how it works in your brain. New thoughts, new movements, new responses, even imagined ones, can grow into new neural trails. Your mind is a garden, constantly shaped by what is repeated. Thoughts are like seeds. What you nurture grows. What you ignore withers. This isn't just poetic, it's biology. The connections between neurons grow stronger the more you use them and weaker when you don't. You can unlearn as much as you learn. And so the question becomes, what are you rehearsing in your mind? Is it tension over and over, fear, regret? Or is there space for breath, for hope, for imagining something else? This is why awareness matters. When you notice your patterns, you begin to loosen their grip. A moment of pause becomes a moment of possibility. That pause, the breath between thought and action, is the doorway to change. The story of neuroplasticity is not about forcing yourself to feel good all the time. It's about knowing that even in sorrow, your brain is listening. Even in stillness, it is shifting. Even in pain, it is searching for another path. You don't have to map that path in one night. It's enough to notice, to imagine a gentler way. Even that imagining begins the process. Studies show that visualizing a movement, like playing the piano or lifting a cup, lights up the same brain areas as actually doing it. What you imagine, your brain rehearses. What you dream, it begins to remember. And so, as you rest tonight, imagine calm. Not perfection, not a life without pain, just calm. Imagine warmth in your hands, lightness in your chest, a path, winding but soft, through the forest of your thoughts. Each step is slow, each thought a leaf, and your brain, always listening, begins to take note.
This is not a quick fix,
but it is a deep one. And it begins here, with the recognition that your brain is not a prisoner of its past, but an architect of your future. Not all pain fades easily, but your response, your thoughts, your stories, they can change. And with them, your pathways do too. So tonight, you don't need to do anything at all. Just listen. Just let your mind rest in the knowledge that it is never still, never stuck. That healing is not a destination, but a direction. And your brain, in its quiet brilliance, is already turning toward it. You may not feel the rewiring yet. That's okay. Change often begins in silence. But tomorrow, or the day after, or someday unexpected, a thought might come easier. A feeling might loosen. A familiar ache might feel just a little less certain. And that is neuroplasticity, unfolding quietly beneath your awareness. Like light beneath the surface of water, bending, shifting, seeking something new. Because even pain, stubborn as it is part of this dance. And now you're ready to ask, how did pain become a path in the first place? Chapter 2. Pathways of Pain, Woven by Experience. Pain leaves more than a mark. It lays a track. The brain, seeking safety, builds trails through discomfort, repetition, memory. Sometimes the signal stays long after the injury is gone. Tonight, you'll walk those paths with gentleness and begin to see how they might slowly change. There is a kind of pain that lingers, even after the wound is gone. You've felt it, maybe in your shoulder, or your back, or somewhere harder to name. It stays longer than it should, echoing softly like the memory of a sound. You move differently because of it, think differently, avoid certain stairs or places or people. The pain becomes part of your map, the way you navigate the world. Tonight, we walk into that map, not to erase it, but to understand how it came to be. Pain begins as a signal, a warning. Your body sends it when something is wrong. A cut, a burn, a break. That's acute pain. It's useful. It says, stop, rest, heal. But sometimes the signal keeps repeating. Sometimes even after the body heals, the message keeps playing in your brain, like a loop that forgot how to end. This is chronic pain, and it often lives in places far beyond the site of injury. It lives in the nervous system. It lives in the memory. You might wonder, how can pain continue when the body is okay? The answer lies in the way your brain learns. Imagine a trail of footsteps in the snow. The first time you walk it, the path is soft, unformed. But walk it again and again, and the snow compacts. The trail deepens. The way becomes easier to follow. Your brain works the same way. The more often a pain signal is repeated, whether physical or emotional, the easier it becomes for your brain to recognize and recreate that pattern. This is a form of neuroplasticity, but one shaped by discomfort. Your brain, trying to protect you, begins to expect pain, and in expecting it, it prepares for it. And in preparing for it, it sometimes calls it into being, even when danger is gone. This is not imagined pain, it's real. It can be felt in the muscles, the joints, the nerves, but its roots may no longer be in tissue. They may be in thought, in reaction, in memory, all carried along the pathways your brain has built. You can think of it like a fire alarm that keeps ringing long after the fire has burned out. The wires were once responding to danger, but now they've grown too sensitive. A gust of wind, a flicker of light, and the system cries out again. But there is comfort in this too, because what is learned can also be unlearned. What is wired in can be rewired, gently, gradually, with intention and care. Let's imagine this another way. Picture your brain as a city lit by billions of lights. Each light is a neuron. Each road between them a pathway of thought or sensation. Pain travels along these roads like a messenger. When you feel something sharp, a stubbed toe, a burnt finger, the message races through the nervous system and reaches your brain almost instantly. But in chronic pain, the city doesn't wait for the message anymore. The lights flicker on, even without a knock at the door. The roads are so well traveled that the brain starts to send out alerts before anything happens, just in case. It's a system built for survival. But sometimes survival means staying too alert, staying in a pattern long past its usefulness. And here's where your experience comes in. Every time you respond to pain, with fear, with tension, with frustration, that emotional layer deepens the groove. The brain doesn't separate physical from emotional pain the way we often do. In fact, it processes both in some of the same regions. Your heartache and your headache are more connected than they seem. So the experience of pain becomes bigger than the injury itself. It becomes a whole body memory. It becomes a habit, a reflex, a loop. But now, gently, you can begin to notice this. Not to blame yourself, never that, but to observe, to soften, to interrupt the automatic path, Because if repetition creates the groove, then repetition can also smooth it. This is where change begins, not with force, but with awareness. Each time you pause before reacting, you create space. Each time you breathe instead of bracing, you send a different signal. Each time you imagine calm instead of catastrophe, you rewrite just a little. Neuroscience has shown that the brain is constantly updating itself. Even in chronic pain, the circuits are flexible. Even old patterns can shift. And often it starts with something very small, a new way of thinking or moving or noticing, like gently guiding your hand away from a hot stove. Your awareness can guide your mind away from the cycle of suffering, not all at once, not in a single night, but step by step, like walking a new path beside the old one. You may still feel the ache, but you may also feel something else, possibility, a soft reminder that pain is not your identity, that healing is not about going backward, but moving forward differently. And as your brain learns to expect safety, as it learns to trust stillness, the alarm may ring a little less often. Your nervous system is not fixed in stone. It listens to the messages you send, even subtle ones. Even silence is a kind of message. Even rest is a kind of instruction. So tonight, your quietness matters. Each breath tells your brain, you are safe. Each exhale becomes a new imprint on the path, and as that imprint deepens, another question begins to rise. If pain can be mapped into the brain, can the absence of pain be mapped too? Can you teach your mind to remember comfort? Can a phantom pain be calmed by a phantom touch? Chapter 3: Phantom Limbs and Real Illusions. Some feel a hand that's no longer there. Others hear echoes of wounds long healed. In the quiet, your mind can conjure presence from absence, and in that illusion lies a clue, a sign that perception too can be rewritten. There is a silence where a hand used to be, a space once filled by skin, muscle, bone, now filled by absence, and yet many who have lost a limb still feel it. The fingers curl, the wrist twists, the missing hand itches or burns or aches, just as if it was still there. This is the phantom limb, a presence born from memory, and you wonder, how can the body feel something that's no longer part of it? But the answer lies not in the limb, but in the brain. Your mind holds a map of your body, not on paper, but in neurons. This map is called the homunculus, a word that sounds like a whisper from a dream. In this internal map, your brain doesn't just know where your arm is, it remembers it. It carries the shape of your hand in circuits and signals, and when the hand is lost, the map remains. The brain still searches for it, speaks to it, listens for signals, and when nothing answers back, the brain fills in the silence, not with nothing, but with sensation.
This is not a mistake.
It is not madness. It is the brain doing what it was designed to do, make sense of the world, even when the data is incomplete. You live in a body, but you also live in a story, one that the brain is constantly writing and rewriting. When part of that story suddenly vanishes, the brain resists. It replays the last chapter again and again, hoping the next page will make more sense. Phantom limb pain is one of the most vivid examples of how experience, memory, and sensation blend inside your mind. And it offers a doorway into understanding something much deeper, that perception is not always reality. Sometimes it's rehearsal, sometimes it's residue, sometimes it's imagination wearing the clothes of memory. Consider this: pain felt in a missing leg, warmth in fingers that no longer reach, tension in a shoulder that isn't there. These aren't signals from the outside world, they're messages generated within, shaped by the brain's belief, its habit, its longing for a map that no longer fits the terrain. And this tells you something powerful. If the brain can create pain, it might also be able to uncreate it. Not all at once, not easily, but piece by piece, like peeling away a shadow. One of the most beautiful experiments in the study of phantom pain used nothing more than a mirror. A person sits with their intact hand in front of a mirror, placed in such a way that the reflection makes it look like they still have both hands. They begin to move the real hand. The mirror shows both hands moving. The brain watches, and slowly, for some, the phantom pain softens, as if the reflection spoke to the neurons and said, "It's okay. You can stop bracing now." This is called mirror therapy. Simple, profound, not because the mirror restores the limb, but because it reshapes the brain's belief. Your nervous system responds to perception, not just what's real, but what feels real. And this is where neuroplasticity steps quietly into the light. The circuits responsible for pain, or tension, or fear are not unbreakable chains. They are patterns, habits of fire and silence. And patterns can be redrawn. You don't need to lose a limb to understand this. You felt phantom echoes of many things: the weight of a backpack after it's removed, the sense of movement after a long ride, the sound of a voice long gone. Your brain keeps track of experience, not just in moments, but in expectations. When something is missing, it fills in the blanks. This means that some of the sensations you feel, even pain, may come not from what is, but from what the brain expects. It's not pretending. It's trying to help. It's trying to complete a picture that's missing a piece. And once you know that, you begin to understand how healing can begin. Not by forcing yourself to ignore pain, not by denying it, but by offering your brain something new to perceive, a different picture to study, a new story to believe. This is why visualization can be powerful. If imagining movement can reduce phantom pain, then imagining peace may do something similar. Not as fantasy, but as medicine, drawn in thought, painted in neurons. Try this now. Picture your hand. Feel it rest. There is no ache in this image. There is only stillness. Now breathe into that stillness, as if you were writing a new message for your mind to read. You are not erasing the past. You are offering a new script. You are not rejecting the pain. You're asking it what it needs. Because pain is not always an alarm. Sometimes it is a question waiting for an answer, and sometimes that answer is not medicine, but attention, not silence, but curiosity. The brain learns through feedback. Every experience, real or imagined, leaves a trace. Even pretending can create new pathways. Even illusion, repeated gently, becomes part of the truth your body believes. That is what phantom limbs teach us, that the boundary between body and brain is not fixed, that perception can deceive, but it can also heal. This is why therapies that seem strange, like mirror therapy or guided imagery, can be so effective. They don't fix the body, they give the brain a chance to re-see itself, to rewrite its expectations, to loosen its grip on pain. You may not have a phantom limb, but perhaps you carry a phantom story, an old wound, a long-gone loss, a tension that lives not in tissue, but in thought. And perhaps tonight, just by listening, you begin to feel a soft separation between what was and what still is. That separation is not forgetting, it's rewriting. It's letting your brain begin a new line on the same page. There is no rush, no force, no demand for change. Only the quiet invitation: what if you could see your pain differently? What if the story could shift, gently, toward ease? And in that question, a door opens, a mirror turns toward the mind, a reflection begins to move. And just beyond that reflection, you'll find a deeper mystery waiting. If the mind believes what it sees, can we use sight to guide sensation? Can we turn illusion into medicine? With light and mirrors and trust. Chapter 4. Mirror boxes and mind mazes. A mirror and a trick of light helped paralyzed pain to melt away. Not through medicine, but through imagination. You'll discover how your brain believes what it sees and how you can guide it with the simplest reflection. There's a quiet kind of magic in the way light bends across glass. You've seen it before, how a mirror can double a candle flame, how it can hold an entire room in the silence of its frame. Not long ago, to people whose limbs no longer moved, whose arms or legs had been lost, and who still carried the deep ache of something missing. Some felt a hand clenched tight, fingers locked in a fist of pain, even though the hand itself was no longer there. The muscles didn't exist, but the suffering did. So, someone tried something unexpected. They gave the patient a mirror. Not a cure, not a drug, just a box with a reflective surface down the center. One arm went on one side, the missing or paralyzed limb, or simply the space where it had once been, remained on the other. And then, with slow, deliberate movement, the working hand began to open and close. The mirror reflected it, as if the other hand were moving too, as if the missing or frozen part had returned, alive, responsive, calm. And the brain believed it. It saw motion where there was none. It saw healing where there was silence. And in many cases, the pain, that stubborn, invisible burn, began to soften. It wasn't a trick. It was the brain doing what it always does, gathering information, assembling a story, responding not just to what is, but to what seems real. You see, your brain is not a passive recorder of reality. It is an interpreter. It receives light, sound, movement, and then builds a picture from that information. So when you look into a mirror and see both hands moving, your brain responds to that image. And if it believes that a clenched, painful hand has relaxed, that it may begin to release the pain it was holding too. This is neuroplasticity in action, not in a lab, but in a simple box of light and hope. The brain, offered new data, begins to change its response. The pathways shaped by pain begin to fade, and new ones, shaped by motion and calm, start to take their place. You've experienced this, even in small ways. When you watch someone yawn and feel the urge to yawn yourself, when a sad movie stirs real tears, when you see waves crashing and feel your chest rise and fall as if with the tide. Your brain mirrors what it sees. It is porous, receptive. It learns through vision. It maps motion onto sensation. That's why watching your own hand move in a mirror can become more than just a reflection. It becomes a message sent deep into the neural fabric of your body. And this isn't only true for phantom limbs or paralysis, it's true for tension, for habit, for fear. If your body holds a memory of pain, your brain holds the script that directs it. But that script is not fixed. It can be rewritten, sometimes with words, sometimes with breath, and sometimes with just the right kind of image. Think of it this way. Inside your mind is a maze, a twisting network of pathways, some well-worn, others overgrown. When you experience chronic pain, the same path is traveled again and again. The same signals fire, the same message repeats. But when you introduce a new image, when you invite the brain to see something unexpected, You offer it a new way through the maze. The mirror becomes a window, the mind peeks in, and slowly, a new path is formed. Even if your own body feels stuck, your brain can begin the movement for you, and in time, the body may remember how to follow. That's the quiet power of imagination, not fantasy, not make-believe, but the rehearsal of possibility. You can imagine peace into a restless limb. You can imagine softness into a clenched muscle. You can imagine ease into a pain that's forgotten how to leave. Each time you do, you practice. Each time you do, your brain takes note. And with enough practice, the imagined becomes real. The reflection becomes part of the map. So tonight, imagine this. Your hand, resting in the mirror's glow, the fingers uncurl easy and slow. No effort, no ache, just motion. And your brain, calm, curious, quietly rewires itself to match the image. This isn't about tricking yourself, it's about inviting your nervous system to try something new, to loosen its grip on the familiar and take one small step toward comfort. Because if your brain can be convinced by illusion, it can also be soothed by beauty, by grace, by stillness. And in the dance between what is real and what is perceived, a door begins to open. You've walked with pain for a long time, but now you begin to wonder, what if the path could change direction? What else might the brain believe if you show it something kind? And just beyond the mirror, you begin to feel another question rising, soft and steady, like a ripple on water. If the mind can reshape sensation, can it also reshape the body itself, one thought at a time? Chapter 5. Thoughts that reshape tissue. Your body listens to your mind more than you know. When you imagine movement, neurons rehearse, muscles prepare, and the map of your body redraws itself. Tonight, you'll wander through that mental rehearsal room. Close your eyes for a moment. Now picture your hand reaching for a cup. Feel the weight shift in your shoulder, your fingers extend, the warmth of the cup as you lift it. You haven't moved, but your brain has. Circuits have lit up, muscles have subtly stirred, as if preparing for the motion you only imagined. This is the quiet power of motor imagery, your mind's ability to practice without performance, to rehearse without acting. And though your body rests still, the effects ripple through you like a soft tide under moonlight. Your brain doesn't fully separate imagined motion from real. It rehearses in both cases, priming the body. It builds and strengthens pathways through thought alone. And in that rehearsal, real changes begin to unfold. Athletes have known this for years. A gymnast visualizing a routine improves balance. A pianist imagining keystrokes strengthens finger control. Not in a vague way, but in measurable neurological changes. Imagining movement activates many of the same regions as doing it. This is the rehearsal room within your mind, a place where change begins, in silence, in stillness, in softness, and this is where healing can live, too. Picture this. A stroke patient, unable to move one arm, closes their eyes and imagines lifting it. Each day they repeat the same scene, the shoulder flexing, the elbow bending, the hand rising. Though the muscles do not yet respond, the brain responds. It begins rebuilding the circuitry, it prepares, and often, over time, the body begins to follow. This is not magic, it is biology, neuroplasticity at work, rewiring through intention. Because your body is not a machine run solely by bones and tissue. It is a living symphony, conducted by thought. Your brain sends signals not only in motion, but in meaning. It listens not just to what you do, but to what you expect, to what you imagine, to what you believe. So when you imagine movement, you whisper to your body, You still know how to do this. You haven't forgotten. And your body, patiently, begins to remember. Even pain, so physical, so sharp, can be softened in this rehearsal room, not erased, but reinterpreted. You may not be able to move as freely as you wish, but in your mind, you can rehearse that freedom. And in time, those imagined steps may become real ones. Your brain doesn't need proof. It needs repetition. It needs a gentle nudge. This is the new path. Picture the nervous system as a winding river. For years it may have carved through a narrow, rocky channel, the path of pain, of fear, of tension. But when you rehearse something new, even silently, you begin digging a new channel. With every repetition, the current begins to shift. Not abruptly, not overnight, but steadily, drop by drop. And soon the river learns to flow differently. This is what happens when you imagine reaching, or walking, or breathing without bracing. You offer your nervous system a new route, and if you return to that route enough, it may become the preferred path. This is not a shortcut. It's a slow unfolding, a rehearsal that becomes a performance, an idea that becomes a sensation, a thought that becomes motion. And it's happening all the time. Even now, as you lie still, your body listens to what you picture. You are always rehearsing something. So, what are you rehearsing now? Are you practicing tension, bracing, fear, or are you quietly inviting in ease? Try it. Picture your shoulders softening, your neck lengthening, your breath widening across your ribs. Let the air move in like warm light. And then out again, smooth and slow. You haven't changed positions, but something inside has shifted. The rehearsal room has opened, and the script you choose, moment by moment, is shaping the body you live in. You may carry pain, you may move with caution, but your thoughts are more than shadows. They are seeds, and even silent seeds can grow into movement. So tonight, let your thoughts move for you. Let your mind become the guide, not to push, not to force, but to gently remind your body, you still belong to motion, you still remember ease. And as you rest inside this thought, as you rehearse calm like a slow dance, something deeper begins to stir. Because if thought can reshape the way tissue heals, what else might it change? Can the story you tell your body about safety, about strength be rewritten too? And what happens when belief, not just movement, becomes part of the healing script? Chapter 6. Emotions entwined with pain. Pain is not only physical, it weaves itself through memory, mood, and meaning. Your thoughts, your fears, even your loneliness can amplify the ache, but with awareness, the loop can soften. The storm, given space, may dissolve. Pain doesn't speak with words, but it has a voice. It hums beneath the surface, sometimes sharp, sometimes dull, but always carrying a message your body wants you to hear. Yet it's not just about what's broken or inflamed. Pain can be a feeling wrapped in feeling, a thread that winds through memory, emotion, and expectation. You've likely noticed this. On some days, the ache is louder. Not because the injury is worse, but because your mood has shifted, or sleep was scarce, or you've carried a weight on your heart that your muscles begin to echo. This is no accident. Your nervous system listens to your whole life, not just your joints or skin or spine. Pain and emotion share the same space in your brain. The regions that light up when you touch something hot are also activated when you feel rejection, grief, or fear. Your body doesn't draw a clear line between the two. So, when your heart hurts, your back might ache. When anxiety swells, your chest may tighten. When you feel unsafe, your muscles may clench, as if bracing for an invisible blow. This is the body's wisdom, even when it feels unkind. It is trying to protect you, but protection can sometimes feel like a trap, a loop you cannot leave, a tension you carry without knowing why. To begin softening that loop, you must first see it clearly. Not judge it, not fight it, just observe. Notice how certain thoughts spark a ripple of pain. A memory flares and your stomach tenses. A worry returns and your jaw clenches. Even imagining a stressful event can trigger the same nervous response as if it were happening now. This is because your nervous system responds to perception, not just reality. It does not wait for proof. If your mind says, danger, your body prepares to defend. That's why emotional stress and chronic pain are often entwined, not because the pain is imaginary, it is real, but because the story surrounding the pain influences how deeply it embeds itself. Fear can amplify pain, sadness can sharpen it, loneliness can make it heavier. Even your beliefs about pain, how long it will last, what it means, whether you feel in control, can shape the way it moves through your body. This is called the pain-emotion feedback loop. The more you fear the pain, the more tension rises. The more tension rises, the more your nervous system stays alert. The more it stays alert, the more pain signals fire. The cycle feeds itself, but it can also be interrupted. And this interruption starts with awareness. Soft, kind, patient awareness. Begin by noticing your pain as you would a weather pattern. Is it heavy like a thundercloud, sharp like cold rain? Does it come and go with the light of day? Does it rise when you feel unseen, unheard, or overwhelmed? You don't have to fix it all at once. You only need to notice it without judgment. This gentle attention, this pause, is the first step toward change, because awareness creates space, and space allows the nervous system to breathe. Breathe with it now. In and out. Let your breath be the reminder, I am here. I am listening. I am safe in this moment. When you send this message, again and again, your nervous system begins to recalibrate. It learns that not every signal needs alarm, that some tension can soften with kindness, that some pain, given space, begins to unravel. You may even begin to see your emotions differently, not as threats, but as messengers. What is your anger protecting? What is your sadness grieving? What is your fear trying to prepare for? And how do these feelings echo in your body? Let yourself explore these questions, not to analyze, but to befriend the sensations that rise within you. Picture your body as a garden. Pain may be the weeds, but weeds grow where the soil has memory. What emotion is feeding the roots? And if you could sit with that emotion, just for a moment, what might it say? Sometimes the ache is grief. Sometimes it's old shame. Sometimes it's the loneliness of carrying something unspoken for too long. There is no need to solve it now. Just let it be known. You can begin to speak gently to the pain, as you would to a frightened child or a tired friend. I see you. I know you're trying to help me. You can rest now. This language may feel strange at first, but your body is listening, and the nervous system, like a symphony, tunes itself to the messages it receives. You don't need to silence the pain. You only need to shift your relationship to it, to feel it without being swallowed by it, to understand it without becoming it. Because pain, like emotion, is not your enemy. It's a signal, a part of you asking to be witnessed, a wave passing through, not the ocean itself. And sometimes, when you witness it fully, when you meet it with breath instead of resistance, it changes. It may not disappear, but it may soften. It may move. And this movement, this emotional shift, can ripple through your entire body, easing not just sensation, but story. So tonight, as you lie still, notice what you're feeling beneath the pain. Not to fix, not to fight, just to feel. Because sometimes what hurts the most is not the pain itself, but the silence around it. Let the silence now be filled with listening, and let the ache be answered, not with urgency, but with presence. And as this presence deepens, you begin to wonder, if emotion can shape the experience of pain, can love, connection, and safety shape it too? Can the presence of another nervous system, calm, steady, become part of your healing too? Chapter 7. The Science of Soothing Touch. Warmth, pressure, rhythm. Touch is an ancient language of safety. In calm contact, the nervous system rewrites its script. You'll drift through the gentle science of oxytocin, skin, and the brain's longing for connection. There is a quiet power in the simple act of touch. A hand resting lightly on your shoulder, a gentle embrace, a soft palm pressed to your back. These moments may seem small, but to your body, they carry deep meaning. Long before words, before thought, before understanding, your body learned what safety feels like through contact. And even now, under skin and memory, your nervous system still listens for it. Touch is the first sense you develop. Before sight, before sound, it is the skin that reaches first into the world. And in that reaching, it learns the difference between danger and comfort. Firmness with care means safety. Warmth means presence. Slow, steady pressure means it's okay to rest. These signals do not pass through reason. They move through sensation, direct, instinctive, and deeply calming. When someone holds your hand or gently strokes your arm, a cascade begins inside you. The heart rate slows. Muscles soften. The breath deepens. The hormone oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone or the cuddle chemical, rises in the bloodstream. Oxytocin lowers stress. It quiets the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, and invites a sense of trust. Even a brief, intentional touch can shift your physiology away from defense and toward healing. This is not imagination. It is the body remembering what it's built to do, to calm in the presence of connection. The skin, your largest organ, is filled with nerves that crave gentle pressure. Especially the C-tactile fibers, a special class of nerve endings tuned specifically for slow, affectionate touch. These fibers don't just signal contact, they signal comfort. They send a message to the brain. You are not alone. You are safe now. And your brain listens. In response, it releases endorphins, natural painkillers, and reduces the stress hormone cortisol. Your immune system steadies. Inflammation quiets. Your nervous system shifts into its parasympathetic mode, often called rest and digest. This is the body's healing state, the opposite of fight or flight. And it can be gently activated by something as simple as a hand placed over your heart. Even when touch comes from yourself, the message can be received. Placing your own hand on your chest or your stomach and breathing slowly sends a signal inward. It says, "This is a safe moment. You can let go now." You don't need another person to experience the science of soothing touch. Though connection does deepen the signal, you can speak this quiet language to yourself anytime. The rhythm of touch matters too. Fast touch is alerting, but slow, rhythmic touch, like the sway of a rocking chair or the long stroke of a massage, entrains the body to calm. The brain finds comfort in repetition, in predictability, in the subtle rhythm of something familiar. That's why rituals of touch, brushing hair, rubbing feet, gentle holding, have long been used to soothe infants, elders, and those in pain. And touch has memory. The body remembers being held or not. It remembers the warmth of skin or the absence of it. These early experiences form templates in the nervous system, quiet expectations that shape how you respond to closeness later in life. Some people lean in easily, others pull back, but all bodies long, in some way, for contact. Even when it's difficult to receive, the longing remains. If you carry pain or trauma or isolation, touch can feel complex. It may feel risky, but the science remains. When touch is safe, consistent, and kind, it offers a powerful tool for regulation. And regulation, the ability to return to calm, is essential for healing. You don't need to explain it. Your body feels it. And when it feels it often enough, the pathways of calm grow stronger than the pathways of fear.
That's what neuroplasticity allows.
Just as pain can be learned through repetition, so can comfort. Every time you experience safe touch, you lay down new connections, new maps. You build a nervous system that expects kindness instead of bracing against threat. And in time, that shift becomes part of your baseline. You rest more easily. You recover more quickly. You feel less alone inside your own skin. Even pets teach us this truth. A cat curling on your lap, a dog resting its head on your knee. These acts of closeness are not random. They're co-regulation, your nervous system and theirs syncing together in quiet harmony. Studies show that petting a calm animal lowers your heart rate and reduces stress. It's not the animal alone, it's the rhythm of the interaction, the exchange of warmth, pressure, and presence. Consider this the next time you wrap yourself in a soft blanket or rest your head on a pillow or place your hand gently over your chest. These are not small comforts. They are signals, they are practices. They remind the body that peace is possible, not as a reward, but as a right. You can offer this kind of care to yourself right now even. Place your hands gently together. Feel the skin meet skin. Notice the warmth, the subtle pressure, the stillness. Breathe slowly. Let the body follow. This is how healing begins. Not in grand gestures, but in micro moments of contact. A breath, a hand, a pause. And in each of these, your nervous system listens, and it remembers. Touch, in its truest form, is not about fixing. It's about reminding the body it belongs, that it is connected, not alone, that it is held, not by force, but by presence. So as you drift now, deeper into rest, know that every fiber of your skin is listening, not for noise, but for signal, not for urgency, but for warmth. And that warmth changes everything. And now, as you lie wrapped in the hush of your own breath, a new question gently begins to form. If the skin holds so much memory, can the spaces between us, our connections, our bonds, also shape the way the brain rewires suffering into peace?
Chapter 8.
Meditation and the quiet sculptor. When you sit still, the mind does not go silent. It begins to carve. Breath by breath, awareness sculpts space into the neural web. Tonight, you'll explore how mindfulness loosens pain's grip and invites new patterns to form. You sit, still, quiet. Nothing moves but the breath. At first, it may seem like nothing happens, but beneath the surface, in the hush between inhalation and exhalation, your brain begins its most delicate work, the work of rewiring, of shaping, of letting go. This is the gentle art of meditation, not the escape from thought, but the soft returning to presence, not the dismissal of pain, but the willingness to sit beside it, to watch it breathe, to unhook from the story that surrounds it. You may believe you need to do something to change your brain, move, speak, push, solve. But here, in stillness, something else unfolds. You observe, and in that observation, you shape. Science now confirms what ancient wisdom has long known, that mindfulness changes the structure of the brain. MRI scans show that regular meditation thickens the cortex, especially in areas linked to attention, compassion, and emotional regulation. At the same time, the amygdala, the part that screams alarm, can shrink in volume, quieting its reactive voice. This is not magic, this is neuroplasticity. The brain responds to how you use it. And when you train it to rest in awareness, non-judging, present, kind, you begin to change not only how you think, but how you feel and how you heal. Imagine the breath as a tide, gently smoothing the shore of your nervous system. Each inhale invites space. Each exhale clears a little clutter. And in this rhythm, the brain learns to settle. The pain may still be there, the fear may still whisper, but you are no longer bracing against them. You are watching them come and go, like clouds across a still sky. This watching is not passive, it is powerful, because what you notice, you begin to disentangle from. And what you disentangle from loses its grip. Pain, when wrapped in story, "This will never end, I can't handle this, something is wrong with me," tightens its hold on your nervous system. But when you return to the breath and simply feel sensation as it is, you begin to peel the story away. Now it is not my pain, but pain. Not my anxiety, but the feeling of anxiety. And with that little bit of space, you find room to move, room to breathe. This is the work of the quiet sculptor, your awareness. It doesn't chisel with force, it softens the hardened edges with patience. It does not rush, it returns again and again to the same gentle point. Breath, sensation. Now, you may not notice the change at first, but slowly, the pathways shift. Thoughts become less sticky, pain becomes less consuming, and the brain, over time, begins to favor this calm over chaos. It is not about perfection. You will get distracted, you will forget to breathe, you will want to run from discomfort. And still, every return is a new thread woven into your healing. Even 2 minutes of stillness, eyes closed, breath noticed, is enough to begin the shift. Because your brain doesn't need drama, it needs repetition. Each quiet return is a message. This is how we do things now. This is a safe place to rest. We don't have to run. This is especially true for pain. Chronic pain rewires the brain to stay on high alert. It primes the nervous system for sensitivity so that even mild signals feel sharp. But meditation invites that system to stand down, to scan the body without fear, to feel without fleeing. Over time, the brain's map of the body, often distorted by pain, begins to clarify. You may begin to sense your limbs more clearly, feel grounded in the outline of your form rather than floating in discomfort. This is the brain redrawing you, calm, present, whole. And as your map becomes more accurate, your experience becomes more manageable. It's like adjusting a blurry lens. The pain may still be there, but you see it more clearly, and it takes up less space. Your nervous system learns a new rhythm. Notice, breathe, let go, not as a trick, but as a practice, not to eliminate pain entirely, but to relate to it differently, and in that difference lies the possibility of peace. Picture your brain as a river. When stressed or in pain, it rushes, turbulent and swollen. But meditation builds the banks, steady, guiding, containing. So the river still flows, but it doesn't flood. It nourishes instead of erodes. You are not the river. You are the one watching from the bank, feet planted, eyes soft, breath moving with the current.
Even now,
You can begin again. Close your eyes if you like. Let your attention drop into your body. Feel where it touches the surface beneath you. Notice your breath, not to control it, but to meet it. Here you are, in this moment. Nothing to fix, nothing to change, just this breath, this awareness. Stay here for a moment longer. Let your thoughts rise and fall like waves. Let your sensations move through like weather. You do not need to hold them. You only need to witness them. And in that witnessing, the quiet sculptor does its work. New pathways begin to form, ones shaped not by pain, but by presence, by calm attention, by kindness. And now, as you settle deeper into this restful stillness, a gentle question begins to unfold, like a soft breeze stirring the edge of your thoughts. If stillness can change the shape of your mind, what happens when you bring that stillness into movement? Can motion, too, become medicine? Chapter 9. Sleep, where healing begins. Sleep is your brain's quiet night shift, sweeping, pruning, rebuilding. As you surrender to it, pain can dissolve or transform. You'll journey through the nighttime rewiring that makes tomorrow more bearable. Sleep is not simply a pause. It is not an absence or a void. It is an intricate, unfolding process, one where your brain steps into its deepest role as caretaker and sculptor. While you drift, it begins to clean and repair, reshaping your inner world in silence. What seems like rest is in fact restoration, and what feels like stillness is actually the soft pulse of healing at work. Each night as you close your eyes and your breath slows, the gates between waking and dreaming begin to open. Your muscles relax, your heartbeat eases, and slowly you slip below the surface of wakefulness. This descent is not linear. It flows in gentle waves, guiding you through light sleep, deep sleep, and the vivid dreamscapes of REM. And in each of these stages, your brain is working, not loudly, not urgently, but with quiet precision. In the deepest phases of sleep, your brain clears away the metabolic waste that builds up during the day, small byproducts of thinking, feeling, worrying, and remembering. This cleansing is done by a system called the glymphatic system, which becomes especially active at night. Like a silent janitor, it washes the brain in cerebrospinal fluid, removing what is no longer needed. And in doing so, it refreshes the pathways you rely on each morning: attention, memory, emotional balance. But sleep does more than clear space. It prunes, it edits, it decides what stays and what goes. Neural connections that are used, often, like those formed through practice, repetition, or deep emotion, are strengthened. Others are gently trimmed away. This is how your brain refines itself. It becomes more efficient, more focused, more attuned to what matters. Even the memories that carry pain are not left untouched. In sleep, they can be softened, reshaped, or filed into new meaning. This is why, after a good night's sleep, things often feel more manageable. The emotional sting dulls. The fog lifts. What felt overwhelming in the dark becomes easier to face in the light. Scientists have found that REM sleep in particular plays a role in processing emotional experiences. During these dream-rich cycles, the brain reactivates memory circuits, but in a calmer state, free from the sharp jolt of waking emotion. It's as if the mind rehearses the memory again, but this time with kindness. Pain, too, changes in sleep. Physical pain is processed by the same regions of the brain that handle emotion, attention, and memory. So when these systems are soothed by sleep, pain itself becomes less intense. Your threshold rises, your tolerance deepens. Even chronic pain feels lighter when the brain is well rested. It's not that the source disappears, but your system is less inflamed, less reactive. You are more resourced to meet it. But sleep is not always easy to find, especially when pain or stress is present. The very thing that would help you heal becomes elusive. You may lie awake, tense or restless, your thoughts looping like waves against the shore. In these moments, it helps to remember that sleep is not a task. You cannot force it, but you can invite it. And the invitation begins with softness. So you settle. You turn down the lights, you dim the noise, you let your body know it is safe now to let go. You breathe slower, you wrap yourself in warmth, and even if sleep doesn't come right away, rest still arrives. The nervous system begins to shift, the body begins to loosen its grip, and eventually, like a feather on a breeze, sleep follows. What you do during the day prepares the soil for sleep at night. Sunlight in the morning resets your inner clock. Movement awakens the body and helps it release tension. Gentle meals, quiet evenings, screens dimmed, all of these are signals. They whisper to your circadian rhythm. Night is coming, it's time to return to stillness. And your brain, attuned to these rhythms, listens. Inside the sleeping brain, dreams flicker like distant lanterns. They are not always logical, not always pleasant. But they are always meaningful. They carry pieces of your day, your memories, your fears, your longings, and they weave them into narratives the conscious mind may never fully grasp.
This weaving matters.
It is a kind of emotional stitching, a way the brain integrates what it cannot yet say aloud.
And sometimes,
Healing hides in those strange stories. A nightmare faced and survived becomes a strength. A forgotten face returns with clarity. An ache, remembered, turns to understanding. The dream world is not always gentle, but it is wise, and it offers you a place to process what waking life leaves unfinished. In deep sleep, growth hormones are released, cells repair, muscles rebuild. The immune system recalibrates. It's as if the entire body takes a long, restorative breath. And when the body feels restored, the mind follows. You wake not just refreshed, but reorganized. This is why, across cultures and time, sleep has been treated not as laziness, but as sacred, a return to something essential. Your relationship with sleep may have been complicated. Maybe it still is. But you can begin again, tonight, with this breath, by offering yourself the simple gift of stillness. You don't have to fall asleep quickly. You only have to create the conditions for sleep to find you. The body knows the way. You can help it remember, with warmth, with darkness, with gentle rhythm. A soft pillow beneath your head, a quiet room, a breath that deepens. And as your body softens, so too does your mind. The thoughts that once shouted begin to whisper. The feelings that once pressed begin to unfold. And the inner landscape reshapes itself in silence.
this is the hidden gift of sleep.
It rewires without your effort. It heals without demand. It moves slowly but surely toward balance. And each time you surrender to it, you allow yourself to be rewritten, not erased but renewed, not fixed but fortified. You wake not as someone else, but as more fully yourself. So let yourself rest. Let the breath carry you. Let the dark hold you. The brain will take care of the rest. It has done this for millennia, and it will do it again tonight. As your body settles deeper, your brain begins its quiet night shift. Sweeping, pruning, rebuilding. And as your thoughts drift like mist into the edges of sleep, a new curiosity forms in the hush. If rest can heal without movement, what happens when movement itself becomes a path to peace? Chapter 10. The Brain's Promise. Change is always possible. Even in darkness, your brain moves toward light. It remembers joy, even when clouded. It learns new ways to feel, new ways to hope. And as this chapter closes, you'll feel that slow promise that you are not broken, just becoming. There is something inside you that still listens, even when you're tired of trying. Something deeper than thought, quieter than pain, older than words. It is the part of you that watches, the part that stays awake through storms, even when your body curls inward and your voice grows small. That part, though it has been bruised and weathered, still leans toward the light. That part is your brain's deepest promise. Change is always possible. Your brain is not static, it is not set in stone. It is not bound by who you were yesterday or the ache that carried through this morning. It is alive, ever sculpting, ever shifting, ever learning. Even now, as you lie still and listen, something within you reshapes. The brain is like clay held in warm hands, softened by intention, stretched by experience, strengthened by compassion. Even suffering, though heavy and stubborn, is not immune to this change. You may feel like your patterns are too deep, your wounds too tangled. But your brain does not work in absolutes, it works in accumulation, of moments, of breath, of choices repeated with gentleness. Every kind word you offer yourself, every pause you take before reacting, every breath you follow into stillness, each is a whisper that says, "We can do things differently now." The science of neuroplasticity tells us this with certainty. New pathways can form, old ones can quiet. Even in adulthood, even in pain, the brain is responsive. Like roots that stretch toward moisture in dry soil, your neurons reach toward healing. And when you feed them new experiences of safety, of connection, of calm, they begin to grow in new directions. It doesn't require force, it requires repetition, it requires patience. Just as muscles change through steady use, so too does the mind. And just as a garden slowly overtakes concrete when given enough time, your inner world too begins to green again, softening the harshness, loosening the grip of what once held you. Sometimes this change begins invisibly. You may not notice that you're less reactive, that the pain feels a little less sharp, that you've stopped bracing for the worst, but then one day, something small happens. A thought you would have spiraled in now simply passes. A moment that once triggered grief now brings stillness. You pause and realize, this is not how I would have responded before. This is the brain's quiet gift, the promise that you are always becoming, even when it doesn't feel like progress. Healing does not move in straight lines. It meanders, circles back, pauses, waits. But beneath it all, the brain remembers your efforts, and with time, it responds. It helps to know that emotion and sensation share circuitry, that the pain you feel in your chest is not separate from your thoughts, your memories, your hope. When you begin to shift how you relate to your inner experience, when you bring curiosity instead of fear, warmth instead of shame, the body takes note. The brain rewires to match that tenderness. And this includes how you remember. Memories are not archives. They are active, alive, and reshaped each time they are recalled. If you revisit a painful moment with new context, with safety, with compassion, you are not only remembering, you are rewriting. The same moment becomes lighter, less jagged, less defining. Even trauma, which once etched itself deep into your nervous system, can lose its dominance. With care, with guidance, and with time, the brain can learn that the danger has passed. It can soften the alarms. It can allow space for other truths, that you survived, that you are here, that you are growing. This doesn't mean forgetting. It means integrating. It means allowing your past to live in you, but no longer rule you. The brain holds stories, but it does not insist on keeping them exactly as they were. You have influence. You have agency. You can help it reframe. Even by listening now, by taking in these words with breath and attention, you are encouraging new stories to take root. Stories where pain is real but not final, where your worth is not measured by your wounds, but by the courage it took to heal them.
You might wonder,
Why is it so hard then, if the brain is always changing? Because change is energy, and your body, especially when hurting, often prefers predictability. It sticks to what is known, even if that knowing hurts. But with gentle repetition, with consistent kindness, the unfamiliar becomes familiar. Safety becomes the new default. Ease becomes something your nervous system expects, not just dreams of. In relationships, this is especially profound. When someone listens to you without judgment, when you are met with care instead of criticism, your brain takes note. It learns that connection can be safe, that you do not have to defend, hide, or shrink. And with each safe encounter, your neural pathways reflect this shift. You move from vigilance to openness, from withdrawal to reach, from silence to soft expression. This is the power of co-regulation, of healing not only within, but between. We are wired for this, to attune, to mirror, to soothe one another. And when we experience this repeatedly, it reinforces the brain's belief. I belong, I am safe here, I can rest. You can also offer this to yourself. Through imagery, through breath, through memory of those who made you feel seen. You can call upon their voice, their presence, even in solitude. Your brain will respond because it does not distinguish between imagined and real in the way you might think. It simply responds to what you focus on. And focus, when directed with love, is medicine. Change does not ask you to forget who you've been. It asks you to hold that self with grace, to acknowledge the pain, but not build a home inside it, to honor the struggle, but not mistake it for identity. You are not broken, you are not beyond repair, you are in process. And the brain, your loyal companion, is learning alongside you. As you breathe now, perhaps you feel something stir, not dramatic, not loud, but subtle. A soft loosening, a faint lightness in the chest, a thought that feels less sharp. That too is neuroplasticity. That too is a sign. It may be slow, it may be uneven, but it is happening. So let yourself trust the pace of your healing. Let yourself believe that you can still become someone new. Let yourself know that your brain, no matter how many winters it has weathered, still moves towards spring. It has not given up on you. It never has. And tonight, as you lie in the quiet, surrounded by breath and rhythm, know this. The most powerful transformations are not always seen. They are felt in the softening of fear, in the returning of hope, in the quiet strength of continuing forward. Because deep within the folds of your brain, something beautiful is unfolding. It is shaped by all you've endured, but not defined by it. It is who you are becoming, layer by gentle layer. And as you drift into sleep, with this truth resting gently inside you, a final question arises like a dawn not yet seen. If your mind can learn to feel safe again, could your body too learn to move freely again, not away from pain, but toward possibility? And now, as the final thoughts settle like dusk across your inner sky, you can feel it, the quiet truth that has echoed through each chapter. Your brain, your body, your breath, they are not fixed. They are living, shifting, responding. You've wandered through phantom limbs and mirror tricks, through the language of touch and the silence of sleep, and you've seen how even pain, that ancient messenger, can be rewritten. You are not broken, you are becoming. Softly, steadily, beautifully. This is not an ending. It's the beginning of a deeper becoming, because the story of healing does not stop at the brain. It continues through every system, every signal, every cell. In the next episode, we'll drift deeper into the body's subtle intelligence. We'll listen to how the gut thinks, how hormones whisper, how movement becomes memory. The journey continues, gently, inward. For now, let yourself rest in the space you've opened. Let your breath move without effort. Let change unfold in its own quiet rhythm. Tomorrow, the brain will remember this softness, and you will be one step further along the path of becoming whole.